Here we are with beloved Prashant Trivedi joining us today for the eighth house. The eighth
Yes.
house is the house of Scorpio. Today, it's commonly referred to as the house of hidden secrets, of subconscious psychology, the house of sex, the house of occult knowledge, as well as taxes and other people's money. So today we're going to really dive into the root and the truth of this house so that we can apply it in a positive way towards our own lives.
Yes.
Beloved Prashant Trivedi, please illuminate us with the eighth house.
Yes, Julie. As always, we will go with the last house first, right? That's how we start every time. So we will do the same thing here. And we were at seventh house last time, and we were meeting people, right? Like meeting anyone, like meeting other beings. Okay. So whenever you meet other beings, anyone meets another being, what is the final thing of that? Like whenever you meet someone or anyone, what is the final thing you come to know from that? Like, I will ask you, simple.
Whether it evolves you or devolves you.
Yeah, that is fine. But whenever you meet something like someone or what is the final thing? The final thing is that all meetings come to an end.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Every time you meet someone, like, okay, you meet for whatever amount of time, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 7 hours, whatever, like everything comes to an
End.
end. So that's what we learn from seventh house. That everything, whenever we are meeting other beings, everything is coming to an end. Okay. And that's where it all starts from. So eighth is the house of
Endings.
endings. Okay. You met someone, okay, and you spent some time with them, and every time you spend time, it always comes to an end. There's a beginning to a meeting, and then there's an ending to a meeting. Okay, so every interaction seventh house has to, and that's the biggest takeaway in a way from that thing. And that's so when you go into this, okay, the meeting is going to end, like your dealings with others are going to end at some point, or some everything, and sometimes the dealings end because the other person dies, okay, and they are not on this earth anymore in this physical form. So then it leads you to the questions about, okay, your life is also going to end. Okay, this physical body is also going to end. Everything is going to end. Okay, so this whole, and when you come to know about like this physical body is going to end, then what is the next thing? Next thing is what will happen next. Okay, so is there a spirit? Where does the spirit go? What happens after death? All of these things, questions come up. Okay, which people don't know the answers to right now, right? In this world, people don't know, have answers to those kind of things. So these are hidden things, right? So eighth house starts from endings, goes into death and the reality of death, another kind of ending, and then goes into all the things which are hidden, and going into all of those topics, all of those things, all of that line of thinking is eighth house.
Exactly. And then all that line of thinking leads you towards a transformation, which is also Scorpio.
Yes. So you are seeing what's happening out here, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It starts with the seventh house, though. You learn this thing, everything finishes from seventh, because every time you meet, it's not always continuous forever till, there's always, even if people stay together, they come together for a little bit and then that finishes. And then, it's always ending is happening all the time in the seventh house matters. And that is the beginning point for eighth house, that understanding, that wisdom, that clarity about the fact of endings. Okay, which leads you into the ending of your own body, your own death, facing your own ending, and then you go into all of that. So you basically try and figure it out, everything which is hidden in this house. Okay, because that's how it starts. Like, it makes you ponder and go into what it is, the whole thing, human life, existence, about everything. and the hidden aspects of it, like after death, after leaving the physical body aspects of it. Okay. Which is all considered hidden knowledge now, right? Occult, you use the word occult, which is again a word for hidden. Okay. Like all of those things which are not easily known, you try and find out. So yeah, so you have to dive deep in this, actually. So it's 8 houses more, you have to dive deep into this house for that kind of thing. So it's a very where people consider it all kinds of things, but I consider it only that, actually, for any human being, if they want to use it properly. This house is about facing the reality of all kinds of endings, and then getting the wisdom out of it as to what it is about, and which will lead to knowledge later. But then we will discuss that in the next house. Okay. But not this one. Okay. But this one will give you enough data, the 8th house. Yeah. And that's why astrology even comes under this house. Study of astrology. Like how come? Like, for example, like a lot of times people, like in this day and age, they call it relationship, right? Like, and they have a relationship and they have a bad relationship or whatever, like, and it comes to an end because the things come to an end, right? And it comes to a complete end. And then people are wondering, how did this happen? What happened? And, and they go into, and a lot of such people go into astrology after that to figure things out. Like, what is destiny? How is this work? What is the mechanisms of this whole existence, human existence? Like, okay, they want to know all this, like whether it was there in their destiny or not. And all these questions arise, right? Mm-hmm. And which throws people into astrology. But again, in 8th house, like it's a big rabbit hole. Okay. So a lot of people can go into astrology and then just lose themselves there completely. And like, it can be too much of it without, there are a lot of, there's a lot of like nonsensical information about everything in this world right now about 8th house matters, whether it's astrology or hidden truth of this world, right? Like how things are actually functioning, what actually makes happen. So there are a lot of nonsensical information. So you can get lost in that, and you won't have the discernment to know which is the right one, which is not the right one, and all of that. So it requires a lot of discernment, this house. Okay, so thankfully it's coming after the 5th, right? So your 5th has to be very nicely developed, the intelligence, in order to use this house properly, right? Exactly. Because it's depending on the 5th house, actually, your discernment and your discipline in the 6th house. Okay, all of those factors are going to be used in this house, so. And that's what people, when they don't do, like, like people get very crazy in. Yeah. So it, like a lot of times people say, like, people go mentally unstable because of this house. Yes. Right. Why is that? Because this is the thing, because the intelligence and the discipline has not been established before plunging into this. And the first is also not developed a lot of times. The first house is not clear. The physical body existence has not been taken care of properly. And you're diving into this. Then it can, it's like you're not prepared for this journey, the 8th house journey, basically, in the ways of the first 7 houses. And then if you take that journey, then it creates a lot of problems. So it basically becomes like a house of obstacles and problems in the modern world.
Is that why taxes are there? Because it's just an obstacle and a problem.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, if you go into the 8th house, you will not have to pay taxes. Right? Like, once you come to know the hidden things, because there's 1 or 2 layers after which you don't. Okay, like I'm saying. But again, so all of that is, obviously, there is knowledge to be had here. Yes. Things to be known for real. Okay. All of that is the potential of the 8th house. Okay. But again, it can drive you crazy too, if you go down the rabbit holes in the wrong way, or you're not prepared, and don't have the discernment, and paranoia can strike, right? Things like paranoia. All these things are 8th house things, like these troubles. And as far as endings are concerned, you have to learn and accept that endings are a fact of this plane. So a lot of people get too perturbed by endings, okay, because they are not accepting of the 8th house thing. So it is again, first house, 5th house has to be developed, all of the intelligence clearly, psychological balance in the 4th house, all of that has to be there.
Yes, I feel
Before.
too with like Pluto, it's got that tumultuous energy, but it's like I had sudden endings in my early childhood. I had family relatives just die like this, like one in
Yes.
a car accident, and it was so jolting and shaking, but
Yes.
ultimately it led me through a huge transformation and understanding of life and how temporal it is,
Yes, temporal. Yes. So 8th house event, right? That's an 8th house event. Okay. So that's why it's considered not a pleasant house for people. Like, it's not considered pleasant house because you have to face some facts of basically of endings in this house, basically. And from there, the road of knowledge starts about things which you will not think about. Normal people don't think about what happens after death or what happens after, like all these actual real questions of existence come into play in this house. Okay. But again, you have to be very prepared and ready, otherwise it's dangerous. The word danger is associated with 8th house, like danger, and the danger is actually, of a fool, like going into things into an unknown jungle and not knowing how to navigate through that and getting into trouble there, because it's dark. Like things are dark, like you can't see anything really. It's like the underworld, it's the underground, and it's all of these, so just like caves are dark, and it's the depth, and so it is, you need your own light beacons here, and where is the light going to come from? 5th.
From the intelligence.
5th is shining, like the sun, the solar Leo.
Oh, okay, yes.
Right. So don't go into this house without a light source to guide. I mean, and that's what's happening, I find, in a lot of truthers in today's world, or in a field of astrology, truthers, all of these 8th house pursuits. You see this whole thing happening a whole lot. People getting lost or going crazy, or people, like it's just happening way too much, and it can be seen in today's world very easily, like so I don't even have to speak so much about it because people can see it for themselves what's going on. If you don't integrate 1 to 7 properly, especially 5th and 1st, 8 is a no-go zone, basically. Otherwise it will create havoc. But if you go into it properly and that thing, then it will reward you with actual real knowledge and understanding of things.
Is sex related to this house because it takes place behind closed doors, hidden? Is that?
I mean, not exactly, because it is actually ending of it, like that is in 7th house still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like, because I mean, this is ending of anything. Even that thing ends. That activity also ends, right? Like if there's an end to everything. 8th house is the end of anything.
So it's not per se sex.
No.
Oh.
Because it's end of anything. Like you might have a car, or it also ends, like sometimes you have it and then after a while you don't have it. Like you have a house and then it's not there anymore, or anything is there or not there, so even even that thing also is there and then it's not there, like it's just the ending of things. So it just focuses on endings actually.
Okay.
And from the endings, knowledge of the temporal, and then knowledge of what is actually important. if everything is temporal, then what actually is important on this plane? Okay. So that knowledge and understanding, the search begins in the 8th house. Okay. And you go after that, you go into that and really know that what are we actually doing out here on this earth, and these kind of questions, and what is our purpose, and everything happens in the 8th house, which will internally to 9th house, which we'll obviously go into next time, so it'll lead into the next house. So,
and what is its dynamic with the 2nd house in that opposition?
Okay. That's a very simple thing. Like, you eat food, right, from 2nd house, right? From the mouth. Then you have to take it out from the 8th house.
Okay.
That's the dynamic. It's a very simple dynamic. Like, yes. Yeah. So it is obviously, if you don't take the things out, right, your body system will become polluted, and you will have poisoning, and when kidneys don't work, and the intestines don't work properly, and and you're not able to take out the toxins, you will not survive very long without the 8th house, right?
So is that
Just
how
like you won't survive very long without a 2nd house. Without eating also, you don't survive very long.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember you talking about the 2nd house, how people correlate it today with money because it's just how you attain things, objects around you. So I was thinking the 8th house, that it's other people's money and it's like taking away. So is it taking away like from an outside source? And that's
not necessarily. Like, you can have things, like, there's no question of ownership, like, in that way, like, like, so, like, in that way, like, you have things around you. They might be yours, they might be others, but they're just things, right? Like, so they can be 2nd house or 8th house. It doesn't matter. Things will not, the things might be of the 7th house. The person, if you go to someone's house, then the things are of their things, but they're still around you.
Oh, got it. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it doesn't matter really. But most important thing to understand is the food and that
it
thing.
goes out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is 8th house going out. So yeah.
Wow.
So,
And would you consider it what they call moksha house of potential enlightenment? The 4, 8, and 12 are usually the trine in which they associate being able to break out of the matrix.
Right. Which I already said. It is because for that, first you have to face the temporal nature of things here, endings and everything, and then you have to go into that direction. What are we here for? What is the purpose? That direction is already happening in 8th house.
Yeah, I see how you've connected it from the 4th to the 8th, like with illuminating the psychology, and then now coming here, and I'm excited to see how the 12 will play into this dynamic.
Yes. You will see that. But right now, we have gotten the general idea of 8th house. I think we know what it is actually about. And a lot of people are writing what it is about in a lot of books, but I'm just saying this is what it is actually about, like, from my point of view.
Beautiful. Well, we look forward to hearing all about the 9th house, and I'm sure it's going to continue to enrich in our perspective of astrology and how we can apply it towards our life. We'll see you guys next time on the next video.